With the vocal on this track, where did you get that from? Did you record that?
That's Fiverr.
Fiverr? No way!
I will rejoice.
Hello and welcome to Point Blank Music School. Today we have a special guest, Malarkey. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good. So, what did you come here to show us today?
This is Rejoice. This is coming out on Hexagon, Don Diablo's label. I've been working with them for the past 6 to 8 months, doing a lot of really cool stuff, and this was just a track. Wasn't too sure what label it could work for originally, and then sent it over to Don, and then a day later Don was like, yeah, let's do it. So.
Alright, so let's dive into the track. How do you normally start your tracks, first off?
For me, I think this one actually started just with, like you can normally see actually in the project itself where I kind of start from. So, you know, starting with track 1, 2 and 3, if we just kind of muted these, I'm just going to actually just solo these and then turn on all the automation clips down the bottom. But basically I start with some kind of concept or idea that I think would be really cool for a record.
Hold on, this is FL Studio 10.
This is FL Studio 10, yeah.
They're on 20 now?
No, well, I hadn't heard about that. No. No, I mean, do you know what? For me, it's like, if it works, it works. I can always adapt what I do within Serum, the samples, all of that stuff, Splice. I can always adapt my sound to whatever gear I've got. I think Don actually still uses like Cubase or something like that. I mean,
people still using, the Punctual guys still using Cubase. My mate Tom Buden still uses FL Studio 10. So whatever works for you, whatever works for you out there, don't let anyone tell you different, including me.
So yeah, I think actually for this one, it started with this sample, doing something in that vibe was like really interesting to me. So
where'd you get that sample from?
That's a Splice, just a Splice vocal actually. And I was like, yo, it's dope. To be honest, I don't get too worried about using something like a Splice thing like that. As long as I can use it in a way that's going to be quite unique and quite cool, I never really worry. I think I changed the key a little bit down as well. I've just put it down 1 key to G minor as well because I really like G minor. So then just put a kick and clap. So I was like, that's a cool groove already. So then it was just about finding the bass line. Then it was kind of in my head. I was like, because it's nice because you've got like a really elongated sample where it's going, oh yeah. So the notes are, you know, legato going out, and so something quite rhythmic underneath the bass line. That's where you're getting a lot of the kind of hook of it, and so that's the foundation of where this record started.
It's a very punchy bass line as well.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to look at the bass line?
Yeah, sure.
The actual sound of it was Serum. It was definitely going for like this Oliver Heldens kind of thing. Square wave, he loves his square waves, man. Just with the kick and clap. So yeah, envelope 1 is just controlling the filter. Effects wise, I think the multi-bands, like I turn these distortion and the multi-band's adding a lot of character to it. Also the white noise, even though it's like not one of those things that you might be able to hear, like I'll just turn it on and off so you can hear. I think it just adds a little bit on that high end of it.
Oh yeah.
Just a little bit when it's going up to those higher notes, you get a little bit of, you know, along with a resonance.
Yeah,
you know?
a little bit of, it sounds a bit crispier as well.
Yeah, a little bit of a little like, which you want as well. The legato on it is really important. Gives it that movement again, basically, and yeah.
And that's just sidechain to the kick, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I mean, for sidechain, I just use gross beat.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just sidechaining. A bit of OTT on there. Good old reliable. I see people use like OTT and they don't change anything in these kind of parts, like in the downward and the upward, and they just turn down the depth. But I like kind of playing around with it a little more, doing that kind of stuff.
That's literally what Punctual said last time. They're just like, just leave it there for 25%. It's a good place to start. It'll sound good on anything. But if you do play around with it, it's, And if you have Ableton, just so you guys know, it's just multi-band compressor and OTT on Ableton, so you don't need to actually download OTT.
Yeah. And then this is also doing the sub, actually. So it's also just taking that sub, because I was like, there's enough bass in that, and the square wave was really nice already, so I didn't really worry about putting a sub in this one. Normally, I do a separate sub in like Massive or something like that, but
Cool.
Yeah, for this, and then just a little bit of high, a little bit of low taken out there.
There's a reverb on the bass line as well.
Yeah, well, that's just for when it's building up. Don't worry,
okay.
don't worry, there isn't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I always love when it's doing that build up, just to give it more suspense. So it's low passing, and then it high passes with the reverb.
On top of that, you've just built a bit more of a groove on it as well for the drop.
Yeah. In terms of the drums, yeah. So the drums, I mean, there's so much in terms of drums going on actually. And normally people would be like, kind of withhold your drums, but I think like this vocal is such an epic scale that it needs to have something that really kind of works with that characteristically. So this top loop, this is quite a famous one. This was used in Pump It Up Endor. It's just a splice loop. Normally when you have it, if I take the limiter off, it's a lot more free and open. I've got a noise gate just kind of, so it's not as messy. Cashmere shaker, another good old reliable. And then these hats, this is quite an important hat because it also brings out the bass groove. It's following the exact same pattern that the bass line does in terms of the swing of it. That's why I've done it in the piano roll as opposed to in this grid part.
I can see you changed the velocity of it as well.
That's actually part of the groove.
Okay.
So what I'd normally do if I wanted swing is I'd go to quantize and then you go to drummer swing too.
Right.
That's how I do it in
Gotcha.
FL, and that's the exact same drummer swing as the bass line is doing here as well. So then when I partner these two up, I've also got the hi-hat side chaining as well to the kick. Again, with that white noise that we were talking about with the bass line, it's also just bringing it out again, just bringing out that groove, which is cool.
And once you've got the bass line all sorted, because you said in your head you had that dun 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 when you heard that loop, right? Where did you go after that?
The order that you see me do stuff here is the order that I make tunes, because I always start from the top and then just kind of work down. So then it would have just been like building this drop. So then putting in crash and effects, another open hi-hat, which you can hear, just really adds to the close hi-hat groove. On the offbeat, I think this is like a church kind of clap, because we're going for that kind of futuristic church sound. Again, it's not loud in the mix, but it's just adding that little bit of depth.
And you got some like pads there, or?
Yeah, this is like, I guess it's like a replica of a Juno that I put in. It's like a vaporwavy kind of sound.
Very vaporwave.
Yeah.
I'm feeling some Macintosh plus vibes right now.
I love that kind of sound though. I think that's just got a little bit of reverb and OTT again. Stock FL reverb. I don't use like Valhalla. I know a lot of people like Valhalla and things like that.
Hey, look, if it works, it's fine. I always find that for a lot of people that go and just have every plugin, it's like, all right, you've got 10 reverbs, right? Well, firstly, which one do you normally use, and which one do you know how to use? I think that's more important. Yeah,
I think it's one of the most like underrated reverbs, probably actually. Fruity Reverb too. I really like it. And someone's probably going to clip me up and say like, oh yeah, nah, this man thinks Fruity Reverb too. Nah, it does the job and it does it well, and I've used it so many different times now. And it's about understanding it in terms of how much damp you want on it, the decay, the low end, things like that. Yeah,
but then there's even stuff like Sound Goodizer, which is just one knob. And Kirby, when Kirby put it on his track on FL, I was just like, is this a meme?
Yeah, I don't use any Sound Goodizer anymore. I probably would have back in the day, but like not anymore. Yeah. I've got this lead, which is interesting. This is following the exact same thing as the bass line, but it's just a little more stereo and detuned, which you probably wouldn't even be able to hear in the actual track itself. It's almost like doing an old schooly kind of rave lead sound. Again, Serum. Effects-wise, just a bit of reverb and dimension expander.
And it's just a slightly detuned saw wave.
Yeah. But it offsets the bass line quite nicely. Like, it's one of those things where, again, you don't really like value it when you kind of hear it out of context, but when it's in context and you suddenly take it out, you're like, oh, wow, the bass line isn't popping through that. Then without it, it's just doing like a little personality to it. It just gives it a bit more character.
Also feels more in the room, like something about it.
All right, yeah. Do you know, I just, I don't really remember why I did it originally, but I was like, when I suddenly take it out, I'm like, oh yeah, nah. It's just helping that bass line cut through that extra little bit in the high ends. So yeah, again.
Dude, how old is this Dell?
This Dell, it's only a few years, man. Had my other computer crash on me, and then all of a sudden I was like...
Is this the one you produce on mainly?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I produce everything on here. It's one of those things where I've never changed really. Like I've always been a PC guy. Always used like this version of FL. Like maybe I'm stuck in my ways too much, but I also know what I'm doing with it. I think that's the most important part. But yeah, like the difference this choir makes when you take it in and out is like epic, and then the choir is doing so much in terms of energy.
Yeah,
but
massively.
It's really important.
And I think that's really important that you touch in on that. It's just because having that right sound to base everything off is so important.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's crazy how you don't realize that something's so important to the track until you take it out.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, I was like, oh, it's a splice thing. You know, I had those kind of doubts in the back of my mind, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, should I use it? Like, can I take it out and will it still work? And I was like, no, it's so vital to this record that if I take it out, it just becomes really flat, the drop. So yeah, but you know, it does the job, and you know, I think people will appreciate it, even if you get like the one or two comments like, oh, I can get this on Splice. Yeah, why don't you make this track before that then? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's also another thing, like if you find a Splice pack, you kind of have to jump on that pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, everyone's gonna have used it in like a month or two's time.
Yeah. I mean, but you still get amazed by, you know, the tunes that are in the charts now, like Believe Me and Get Out of My Head. Like those two tunes both have Splice vocals, and they're both in like the UK top 40.
Wasn't that what's that track that goes
Deep End?
Yeah, Deep End. That's it.
I knew you were going to say Deep End.
Deep
John
End.
Summit.
Yeah.
Banger.
That's a Splice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been
and-
trying not to go up a deep.
Yeah, and that is like you hear it on radio.
Yeah, there's a million versions of that now as well, in terms of like, just other poppy people. But yeah.
Yeah. With the vocal on this track, where did you get that from? Did you record that?
That's Fiverr.
Fiverr. No way, dude! That is some ingenuity right there. Did you just get like a guy?
Yeah. So I had a different bishop, but then I was a bit like, yo, it's gonna be a bit.
So
like,
this is a genuine bishop right now.
Yeah, this is like a guy who does like motivational speaking in like, I don't know, somewhere in America. And he just...
Do you have the power to be blessed?
I feel motivated.
No.
Yeah. He's got like that kind of voice, right? And so he did like 3 takes, you can see here, from track 43 to 45. And then I comped it down to the best takes. He just did it like 3 times in a row, which was great. And then I just took the best takes that he did, and this is the final result.
Do you have the power to be blessed? No. You have to choose to be blessed.
But without the effects, it sounds like so weak in comparison.
Do you have the power to be blessed?
Whoa.
Yeah. So
that sounds like a different person. Did you pitch it as well?
Yeah, so we'll go into it. So essentially, at the start.
Do you have the power to be blessed?
I find that so funny. You've got Little Altar Boy on this as well.
Yeah, well, we'll go into Little Altar
It's like a gospel kind of.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That's great. Yeah, so Maximus is just doing a de-esser.
Do you have the power to be blessed?
Put it right at the start of the chain, so then when I put on Little Altar Boy, it wasn't going to be messed up. Foreman and a bit of drive, classic.
Do you have the power to be blessed? No. You have to choose to...
God, OTT just makes such a big difference. Why does OTT always make things sound...
It's mental. It is mental, but I'm doing more on the high ends and the mid to really push it. I'm only giving it an extra 2 dB of gain as well, which is crazy.
Do you have the power to
Bit of distortion,
blessed?
gives it that rawness.
No. You have to choose to be blessed.
Again, this
Fruity Reverb sounds great.
Yeah, that's the thing, and everyone is like, I don't understand when I see people like saying about how amazing, Valhalla's great, but like, people don't understand how much Fruity Reverb can do.
Do you have the power to be blessed?
And then a lot of EQing.
No, you have to choose to be blessed. You have to say today's
take out any
the day
lows, and then
my Savior has
a
made.
bit more detailed here.
Do you ever add anything with Fruity EQ?
What, in terms of
Like-
highs? Yeah.
Like
It's,
boosting.
yeah, it just depends. Like, I used to like boost the hell out of like high ends and low ends, and I used to go way too much into it. And then now I've kind of gone backwards. I think maybe as I've gone older, I'm like, yeah, less of that high end kiddo. It's like my old ears can't take that anymore.
Yeah, and dude, you'd be so surprised. And people out there are watching, you really, really need to look at mixing your high ends, because a lot of people,
Yeah.
when they're starting out, firstly, they're probably not using super good monitors or whatever in the first place.
Yeah.
But the highs are so piercing. Like I go back
Yeah.
into like a lot of my older tracks, and just like tracks that people release at like the start of their careers, you can really hear that the mixing difference is really evident in the highs.
Oh yeah. It's like you suddenly realise how much you don't need of a lot of high end stuff, and it's crazy. So, and then I've also put this like crowd reaction, so it sounds like he's like actually like, because in the original there was a lot of kind of crowd noise, which was quite cool. So
Do you have the power to be blessed?
you don't really get it in
No.
the song, but it just gives the vocal that little bit extra. Again, I think I'm just cutting high ends and lows. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't need them. Like otherwise, there's so much that's going to. I only put the high ends now on the stuff that you're wanting actually to be the main focus of the track.
Yeah.
So-
Do you have the power
Bit of
to
vinyl
be
noise as
blessed?
well, white noise.
No, you have.
And then underneath, we're really building up the textures here. We've got Reese,
Do you have the power to be blessed? No, you have.
which is another Serum Beauty. I would have changed how I do this now, just looking back over it, but because it's quite a stereo sound, and I've also got like a hyper dimension. I don't know why I put this on. Like all of this stuff, like this would be doing nothing essentially. It's doing nothing really to the sound. The chorus is moving it about a bit, which is quite nice. The distortion, like all of that stuff's really cool, but yeah, it's a really simple sound again.
Do you have the power to be blessed?
I think
Do you
these,
have the
I
power?
think these are brass. Here, just contact.
Contact always takes a long time to load.
Yeah. Oh no, is it? Yay!
Woo!
Thought it
Made
crashed
it.
me for a second. I was like, hell nah. Just really basic horn section here. Just something for the epic scale of everything.
Did you ever do any formal music training or anything, or did you play?
Yeah,
any
I mean,
instruments?
yeah, I played guitar when I was like 11. I've played that like ever since. I was in a band, and then I was at a private school which was like quite Christian as well. So a lot of like that's where a lot
Explains the music.
a lot of where these influences kind of come from. And I used to. There was a massive chapel in there actually. So we had this. It was a memorial actually for the Falkland Islands, and recorded like a lot of piano stuff in there, which used to feature in a lot of my old tracks, like where I'd just take cuts from this guy who was like a resident, like this is how posh it was. We had like a resident pianist, do you know what I mean? Who would
Right.
just play like
Yeah.
4 people and like accompany them and stuff like that. So yeah, I used to record a lot of that, and we did like a lot of like stereo fielding of like the cathedral and things like that. It was awesome. So yeah, that's where a lot of my kind of training, and then doing a lot of choir stuff.
So when you come to like writing music and stuff like that, chords and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, it's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's all helped with you building like these kinds of
Yeah,
chords and, like,
yeah, 100%.
progressions.
And I'm not like snobby about it either. Like I can still appreciate stuff where it's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense tonally, but that's what kind of makes it cool. It's like trying to you have to understand those things as well a little bit. But like when it comes to like writing this piano line or something like that, that's where it like really comes into play and helps.
What are you using for that? Is that Contact as well, or
That's Nexus.
Nexus?
Bringing all the old schools
I
out.
love
Old
a good
boys.
Nexus. I love a good Nexus dance piano.
Yeah, old school.
Oh my god, Nexus 2.
Yeah, classic. Dance piano, which is like MDA
Yeah.
piano, and then a Korg one shot.
Also,
layered.
just it's all stacked,
Yeah. And then it's got an OTT on it as well.
of course. Wait, are you busing that to a single OTT or something, or?
That's just going to, all of the pianos are going to one channel.
Oh, okay, so that OTT is affecting all of them.
Yeah,
So I found that with OTT, when you bus multiple things to it, it kind of gels it together as well.
Yeah, 100%. This is where I'm adding high ends, and look how much, it's like barely anything, right? It's like... But you bring this in with the horns and the respace.
There we go.
And my computer dies. But yeah, I've got a guitar here as well, this helps. It's not doing huge amounts, but again, it's just another thing to bring out highs. Two little guitar bits, this is like an ambience. Use this in so much. If you guys haven't heard it in my records yet, you'll start to notice it now you've heard that.
All right, for the build-up, you've got all these effects here as well.
Yeah. So there's the bit with the big piano. There's a reverse crash, sweep, reverse vocal, just all kind of tonal things and effects basically to give it a vibe. Also this angel chime, which is lush. Love a bit of that. As I said earlier, basically I really like using them because they're like quite underrated, because I think it's kind of like almost like a combination between a crash and a down filter, and it's another organic element that you can put in your tune, and it just adds to the kind of ambience of what I'm doing here. Like maybe you wouldn't pick up.
Yeah, it's very hard to pick up, but it's there. You can hear. I also didn't know Kashmir had angel chimes.
Angel chimes. He's got everything in there.
Yeah.
He's got. You can find. I bet he's going to open a supermarket soon.
He does everything. This guy.
He's got bread. He's got milk there.
Yeah. Hot tip on sample packs, by the way, is and this one Daniel Candy taught this to me.
No.
When you go into a sample pack, okay, don't start from the top. So because there's like 100 crashes, right? Start from crash 100 and work your way back up, because everyone goes through the top from the top, right? And then they just stop when they find the sample they want.
Yeah,
but everyone's already used that one.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I still use a lot of like bait ones, like where I've got like Kashmir, like the first ever Kashmir pack he did. He only put in 5 crashes.
Now?
3.
Yeah, okay. I was like thinking, he hasn't done more, has he?
Yeah,
Because there's so much in it. There would be so much work that would take to make
he's been busy doing an album, hasn't he? So I think, but yeah, no, and then just another little effects bit before the drop.
I love the tape stop, by the way.
Tape stop, yeah. It's another Kashmir. He's got everything in there, as we said. Little glitch thing from Kashmir and all of these kind of things. It's just so much good stuff in there that you can combine these elements and make the sounds.
I will rejoice.
Yeah, so it's that perfect little bit of energy before the drop. It's all about building up the textures. Again, this build-up's pretty simple. It's just the bass line low passed with a lot of effects.
Do you have the power to be blessed? No, you have to choose to be blessed. You have to say today is the day my Savior has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice.
So yeah, that's all it is for that build-up. It's nothing crazy. It's a lot of like standard loops and stuff that you can find on Splice.
So when you sequence a track, right, you build the drop first?
Yeah, well, it can really depend. If I'm working with a vocal, maybe I'll start with like the most obvious bit. It's the same with a lot of songwriting. A lot of people I know like to work with a chorus and then go backwards and then write a verse, because it's almost like starting knowing where you're heading kind of thing. It's about building the journey from there, going backwards. So, but for some stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'll just make the chords here and then work it. But as we said earlier with this one, it was all about actually the drop vocal.
And is there anything else in this track that we haven't touched up on?
Yeah, it's just this little vocoder bit, which is... But it was one of those things where I was like, I wasn't sure if it was going to work. And actually, if you hear it again without the effects, mate, you're going to be like... Like, the EQ is doing so much to provide help on this one that it's mental. Sounds so messy without the EQ. But yeah, fruity vocoder, 75% wet, basically. Then Fruity Reverb 2, as I say, I really like it. That's for low passing. And then the EQs are... amazingly somehow make it actually clearer what's going on. I think the EQ in here is like highs and lows, more detailed, and then highs and lows again after that. And just a little click. But yeah, that's basically just taking that little bit of vocal going, I will rejoice, and just putting chords underneath it. And then the synth doing it, again, is another serum. You know, it's not maybe like the cleanest, but actually it almost sounds like it's like a futuristic kind of robot voice that someone's found, and it really fits with the whole vibe of this record. And so that was the main thing for me, is like it kind of fits with that kind of church in the future. Actually, there's one more little element I'd like to talk about.
Yeah, sure.
It's nothing massive, but I think it's like one of those things where it carries the record, and if it wasn't there, you'd notice it, but like it's just this little percussion snare.
Do you have the power to be blessed?
Just keeping time, and it's keeping the beat. What I hate most when not hate, I mean hate is a strong word, but like one of the things that I find lacking in a lot of producers when they send me demos and things like that is like they'll have a whole section and I can't tell where the beat is sometimes because there's like no percussion or anything. But sometimes you don't want the percussion there, so this is just like a little tonal sound. So if I play it without, you'll suddenly notice that you really struggle to find the beat.
Do you have the power to be blessed? No. You have to choose to be blessed. You have to say
And then with.
do you have the power to be blessed?
Yeah,
No.
I can kind of tell because that piano that's so muted, you can't
Yeah.
really hear the hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's
It's
meant to
kind
be
of-
spacious, you know, but
Yeah, it's kind of uneasy actually. I was listening to it without it, and I was just like, oh.
yeah,
kind of
it doesn't feel right.
I feel like if I was a DJ, I'd be like, I don't know when to press the play
Yeah,
button.
yeah, all of that kind of stuff, and I really don't like that when it's too spacey and too spaced out. So if you're just having these long elongated pads, it's really cool just to find a little. You can do it with a little vocal shot that's reverbed. But yeah, this
Do
is
you
just
have the power to be blessed?
you're like, oh, okay, I'm locked into the beat.
No.
Especially if it's a radio edit, you need to think about that. If you haven't had just the whole load of bars before that with the drums, like all of those kind of things. But yeah,
So you finished the track here. What's your next step?
so I've got an EQ on. My mate Tom Westy told me this is a tip. He said that actually this helps balance your kick out and your bass. It's just putting these two little dips at 70 and 150. That's meant to be almost. Putting these little dips. So I always put these in the master before exporting out. I have a Maximus on there. I've always used this as like a limiter and a multiband as well. And then what I'll do is just turn both of these down -6. I'm sure like you tech heads at home, you probably know what you're doing. I don't really know what I'm doing. I just kind of bounce it out -6 and then put it into Ableton. But do you know what? It does work. Like it's one of those things where, yeah, it might not be technically correct, but then I put the in and the out both down -6, master it in Ableton, and I just use a stock Ableton preset like Aggressive Dance Master. Use one of those and then play around with it a little bit. Maybe put in an extra, like you were saying with the OTT earlier with the multiband compressor. I do that sometimes in there as the whole chain. And yeah, I mean that's basically it. And then I bounce it out until it sounds good. But at the end of the day, I don't think it should be too complicated. I think you can put in all the amazing mixing techniques in the world and all of this stuff. If you haven't got a compelling record at the heart and soul of it, it's never going to land. Like, and I think that's the big thing. Everyone talks about mixing and mastering and how great that is. I think if you haven't got the record there, no one's going to really take notice. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to do records for making people dance and enjoy it. And that's the nice thing, is seeing the response of that. People haven't been going, oh, this is mastered really bad or anything like that. People have just been playing them, you know, like everyone from Tiesto, Garrix, Jonas Blue, whatever, like Don, all playing them, supporting them and signing them. So at the end of the day, I'm feeling like there must be something right in that at that point. And I don't want to try and fix what isn't broken, almost in a sense. Maybe to some people it is broken, but like music's so subjective as well at this point that, you know, you look at Imanbek putting like Isotope and just like a Vengeance sample as his bass, and I'm like, that's music, that's what's happening now.
Doesn't matter as long as the music is good. And
100%.
of course, good is subjective at the same time.
Yeah.
But you know, if people listen to it, if people vibe to it, then that's what matters.
100%. That's what matters to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Malarkey, for joining us here at Point Blank
Thank you for
Music
having me.
School. Where can people follow you?
People can follow me at Malarkey Official on like Instagram, Facebook. Those are the main two I use, and then Malarkey on Spotify. And yeah.
Awesome. And they can listen to this on all streaming platforms?
All streaming platforms, Hexagon's YouTube as well, this tune's out on, and my Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, etc.
So take it easy, everyone. Thank you for tuning in yet again. Check out www.pointblankmusicschool.com for more details on our courses, and we'll see you all next time. Take it easy.
I will rejoice.